Your body is extraordinary. It can heal damaged tissue, convert light into memory, recognize thousands of faces, and keep you alive while you sleep without asking for your permission even once. But if you looked at the human body the way an engineer looks at a machine, some of its design choices would feel less like perfection and more like compromise. The same region that lets you breathe also has to guide food and liquid away from the airway. The same spine that lets you stand upright leaves millions of people vulnerable to persistent back pain. One of the nerves that helps control your voice takes such a strange route through your body that if you saw it on a blueprint, you might assume it was never meant to stay that way. And that's the real story here. The human body is not a flawless design. It is a record of old solutions, biological trade-offs, evolutionary shortcuts, and inherited compromises that happen to work well enough to keep the species moving. Tonight, we're looking at some of the body's most unsettling design flaws, not because the human body is weak, but because it is far stranger than most people realize. And once you see those compromises clearly, it becomes difficult to unsee them. Start with the throat. For something this important, it is built around an uncomfortable level of coordination. Humans breathe and swallow through structures packed tightly into the same region. Air has to reach the lungs. Food and liquid have to move safely toward the esophagus. And the body has to manage that handoff quickly and correctly over and over again without letting material slip into the airway. Most of the time, it works. But it works because swallowing depends on a carefully timed protective sequence, including a brief pause in breathing, closure of the vocal folds and glottis, movement of the larynx, and help from structures like the epiglottis. The epiglottis matters, but it is only one part of the system, which means one of the most basic functions of being human depends on a shared anatomical region where timing is everything. That is why choking exists at all. And the fact that something as ordinary as eating depends on that much precision is already unsettling. But the deeper reason is stranger. Evolution does not build clean systems from scratch. It modifies what is already there. The structures involved in breathing, swallowing, and vocalization were shaped over time around older anatomy, newer demands, and trade-offs that also help support complex speech. The result is powerful, but not elegant. You can eat, you can breathe, you can speak, but the cost of having all three so closely tied together is that when coordination fails, even briefly, a normal act can become an emergency. That is not what flawless design looks like. That is what compromise looks like. Now consider the spine. Human beings are upright creatures, but our bodies did not begin as upright masterpieces. They were adapted into them. The human spine is not a simple support column. It is a stacked, curved structure balancing load, flexibility, shock absorption, and movement all at once. That sounds impressive, and it is. But it also means the system is constantly managing competing demands. Over evolutionary time, upright walking brought enormous advantages. It freed the hands, changed the visual field, altered movement efficiency, and reshaped human life. But it also changed the mechanical demands placed on the spine. That matters because low back pain is now one of the most common health problems in the world. The system works, but it works in a way that suggests adaptation rather than perfect redesign. A species engineered from zero for upright load bearing might not have ended up here. Humans did. Few biological realities reveal the body's compromises more clearly than childbirth. Human newborns have relatively large heads, and birth requires that those heads pass through the maternal pelvis. That fit can be tight. Modern evolutionary reviews still support the idea that human birth reflects real trade-offs. Still, the tension is real. A pelvic canal that eases childbirth may come with other costs, while a pelvis optimized differently for other demands does not simply remove the challenge of birth. Human birth is possible because the species evolved through trade-offs, not because the system became perfectly elegant. And that may be one of the strangest truths in biology. The eye feels like one of the body's great triumphs, and in many ways it is. But even here, the design gets weird. In the vertebrate retina, light reaches the rods and cones only after passing through the inner retinal layers first. And where the optic nerve exits the eye, at the optic disc, there are no photoreceptors at all. That creates a blind spot, a literal gap in vision. You usually do not notice it because the visual system compensates. Input from the other eye helps. And even during monocular viewing, the brain can fill in missing information using surrounding detail. Which means one of your most trusted senses feels seamless, partly because your brain is constantly smoothing over what is missing. The eye is powerful, subtle, and deeply impressive. Now for one of the strangest examples in the body, the recurrent laryngeal nerve. This nerve helps control the larynx, the structure involved in producing your voice. So you might expect the route to be simple: brain to neck, neck to larynx. Efficient, direct. It is not. On the left side, the recurrent laryngeal nerve travels downward into the chest, loops beneath the aortic arch, and only then returns upward toward the larynx. The nerve develops in relation to the great vessels, and as the heart and aortic arches shift during development, the looping path remains. Functionally, the recurrent laryngeal nerve is important enough to help supply nearly all of the intrinsic muscles of the larynx. So this is not some useless leftover thread. It matters. But its route still looks like history that was never fully revised. Your body carries traces of older developmental patterns in places so impractical that they almost feel unreal. One last example: wisdom teeth. For many people, they are not useful at all. They erupt awkwardly, become impacted, crowd nearby teeth, or need to be removed. That alone is common enough to be treated almost like a normal rite of passage. But wisdom teeth make more sense when you stop thinking of the modern human mouth as the final intended version. Third molars are late erupting teeth, and in many people they simply do not have the room to come in or develop in the usual way. That is why impaction is so common. At the same time, not everyone has problems. Some people's wisdom teeth erupt normally, and some people never develop all of them at all. Researchers also connect third molar eruption patterns with broader variation in jaw and facial dimensions, which is another reminder that inherited anatomy does not always fit neatly into modern mouths. Your mouth still carries evidence of older biological constraints, and sometimes that evidence erupts. None of this means the human body is a failure. In fact, the opposite is true. What makes the body extraordinary is not perfection, it is persistence. It works despite its compromises. It adapts. It patches. It survives. But there is something deeply unsettling in realizing that your body is not a polished final draft. It is more like a ledger, a document full of revisions, inherited shortcuts, and solutions that were good enough to keep going. And maybe that is why the human body feels so strange when you examine it closely. not because it is badly made, but because it still remembers everything it used to be. You can still see the compromises written into it. And once you do, the body stops feeling like a perfect machine and starts feeling like history.